I can think about this, again, as a public health guy, or I can think about it as a parent, sending my little girls off to school every day and wondering what's going to happen to them. That's not how we should live in America. And certainly our kids shouldn't be afraid to go to school. But I think that in terms but we have to handle this realistically, and we have to handle it responsibly. And I think that there's 3 things definitely that we can do. The first, again, as a public health guy, I want to see the CDC have the power to study this problem, and not just to study the problem, but to study the proposals, to study the programs to reduce gun violence, so that we can get real data about what works and what doesn't work. The other thing is, of course, expanding background checks. This has huge support in the population, including from gun owners, and is something that we need to do. There was a story I heard from a friend in Upper Arlington where she and her family had lived there their whole lives and lived next door to a woman for decades. And she sadly passed away, and they had an estate sale. And her son went over to kind of check out the sale, and he came back and he said, Mom, you should probably go next door. And their friend had about 40 guns. She was a collector. They didn't know. Gun owners, are us, right? And anybody could have walked in to that lady's garage and picked up one of those guns, and that's ridiculous. And we can all agree on that we can restrict that we can tighten that up to make our community safer. So I think those are realistic things that we can do. And the other thing too is Moms Demand Action. I'm really glad to see you here. I really enjoyed the session that I went to back in a few weeks ago down in Franklinton. I think gun safety led by moms is the way that we're going to save lives and really start to grapple with this problem. So thank you for being here, and thanks for the opportunity to answer the question.
And Rick, you get to answer this first. Over 3 million women marched on January 2018 for various reasons. What do you think are the top 3 issues concerning women's rights? What do you plan to accomplish to address these issues?
Great. Thanks. So there's a lot of times in this campaign when I feel like I'm just following the women. From starting, at the Women's March on January 17th, like I said, when Tom and I took our little girls there, and that was an amazing and energizing and inspiring experience, to come back home and to be with all the women who have gotten Indivisible on its feet in Central Ohio, to all sorts of other activities. I mean, I had a great chance in November to go down to Wilmington at the invitation of the Alliance for Compassion and Truth. Is there anybody here from the Alliance today? Thank you. It was a terrific group of people who helped get a Democrat reelected to Wilmington City Council last November, and 2 more Democrats elected down there, and that's in Wilmington. And that's just an example of the kind of movement that's going on in this district, because for women, they are not fooling around, and we need to not be fooling around on this. Economic security for women, equal pay for equal work, and a livable wage are things that everybody deserves. So that's the first thing for women, is economic security. The second thing is personal security. I personally have been inspired by the Me Too movement. And in all of my years as a Peace Corps volunteer in Morocco, and watching what my fellow women volunteers had to go through to protect themselves, and finding that back here at home when I came back to the United States. I find the Me Too movement very inspiring. Like the kids with the guns, I feel like I'm just following along behind, trying to support and lift that up. And the third thing, of course, is healthcare security, especially guarantees for reproductive health and a woman's control over her body. A politician should never be telling a woman, her family, and her doctor what to do with her body. So those are the 3 things that I would be very, very proud to support and work with women on.
Number 1, reproductive rights. Number 2, gender pay inequality. And number 3, ending a culture of violence, harassment, and misogyny that has kept women and girls in a prison of fear for far too long. If I am elected to Congress, I will defend a woman's right to choose, a right to control the decisions of her own body. If I am elected to Congress, I will support her access to health care, and I will support comprehensive safe sex education, not abstinence-based, which is ridiculous. I will also support and fight to end this 80 cents on the dollar wage ratio that women make compared to their male counterparts by defending unions in America. I was a member of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union. I was a member of AFSCME. I'm a member of the Ohio Education Association now, and I'm proud to tell you that every single one of those contracts negotiated on my behalf was a contract that knew no gender. Unions are on the front line of this fight, and we need to be defending the unions. Thirdly, I believe in ensuring and protecting the sanctity of Title IX. It defends women and girls in universities and in our schools, and Betsy DeVos and Donald Trump have sought to revoke one of the guidelines called the Dear Colleague Letter. It was put forth in the Obama administration in 2011, which clearly defined sexual violence against women. Sexual battery, sexual assault, sexual harassment, and sexual coercion. They removed that guideline. I would see it reinstated. But ultimately, I will be willing to announce, in support of all of these things, the Equal Rights Amendment, and if any of you have been following, here is how it is written. Equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Thank you.
Rob, you get to answer this first.
Sure.
If your party is in the minority, what can you do to be an effective member of Congress? What issues do you think are available for cooperation between Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Libertarians, and Green Party representatives?
Well, any teacher that's worth their salt knows that the number one quality you need to possess in order to bring different people with different views together is empathy. If you have no empathy, you'll never be able to understand the hows or the whys of why someone thinks and feels the way that they do. I believe that our campaign is unique in that we have reached out to conservatives and independents, even in this primary, to try to build that empathy, to build that understanding, which is why I've been in ongoing conversations with several members on social media about things like gun control reform, about things like single-payer health care, about immigration reform. And I'm telling you right now, there is bipartisan support. Okay? That's how I know that those things are possible if I am elected to Congress. Those are the issues that I believe can tie us together as long as we get the messaging right. And as I said, you cannot get the messaging correct without empathy. You cannot have a candidate or a congressman who can't put themselves in someone else's shoes. They will accomplish nothing. I plan on accomplishing a great deal, not because I am a slave to rhetoric, not because I'm coached or trained, but because I have true empathy and real conviction. Thank you.
So the question was about if the party, if the Democratic Party remains in the minority, right? Well, we would be pretty limited. I mean, we've seen that. So the point is to not be in the minority anymore, right? And that, and that's the thing about Steve, of course, is that Steve Stivers has taken on this new job as the chair of the House Republican Fundraising Committee, so that he's out there all the time raising hundreds of millions of dollars to get more Republicans elected in Congress, which is not what we need. We also need a congressman who's here at home. So the point is to do what we just saw in Pennsylvania last week, and how about that? That was an excellent result for us, and run that kind of a race, right? And get into the majority. And the way that we do that is running strong campaigns that focus on real issues, real kitchen table issues that are going to deliver for people. I am very, very proud of the work that I've been doing since last August to set up such a campaign. I get up every day and work like crazy to try to raise the money and make the connections that I think my campaign is going to need to win in November. So yes, there's a lot of room for us to work with people, but we got to be working with people in good faith. I don't think that Steve Stivers is such a person. I'm not sure that I've been seeing a lot of Republicans on the other side like that. They're not standing up for us. They're not standing up for our country. They're not standing up against what's going on in Washington and coming out of the White House. If we can get some Republicans in there who will work with us in good faith, of course, everyone is interested in those three things: good paying jobs, better paying jobs, affordable health care, and real solutions to the opioid crisis. But we got to get Democrats in there so that we can lead and then we'll see about if we can find some Republicans who will work with us in good faith. Thank you.
We're going to need a short intermission